And we are live. Today I am with a special guest. We have Cano Loco Sports with us today. And yeah, say what's up to everyone, Cano, and just tell them about yourself and your channel.
Man, what's going on, man? Mightymax. I gotta get used to saying Mightymax, man, because I knew you as Minimax, man, back in the day, man. But
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, man. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second, man. I got the other computer running and it's got your stream playing, man. Give me 1 second, man.
No worries, man. But we have a special guest that will just be talking about the fights that happened yesterday. We'll be talking about the upcoming schedule and we'll just be talking about the sport in general, man. I'm definitely looking forward to it. We had Keith Thurman take on defeat Mario Barrios yesterday. We had Luis Neri look really impressive yesterday as well. Cano, did you see the pay-per-view last night by any chance? And what'd you think of Keith Thurman's performance?
Yeah, I did see the pay-per-view. Like I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man. I thought that he would lose the fight. And the reason I had thought he was gonna lose the fight, because almost a 3-year layoff. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how his body was gonna react. If it had been a year or something, I would have been like, okay, I think Keith is still around, but almost 3, I had to question it, man. But he did answer some questions. He did come back in shape. Uh, but he did what he had to do. I'm still just not sold on him beating the elite champions now. Right now, I don't see him beating the Earl Spence or Terrence Crawford not based off of that performance he had last night. He may not even beat Boots or Virgil yet. But
Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure. He looks sharp for someone on a long layoff, but in my opinion, I still see him as food for a guy like Crawford Spence, Boots Ennis, or Virgil Ortiz at the moment. But very entertaining fighter, and I'd still love to see him get some of these big fights. Salute to Iceman and Cameral82 in the chat as well, man. Who do you think would be the most fun fight for Keith Thurman next?
man, how about a Butiev or
Ooh, yeah,
Stanionis or
yeah, those would be
Jamal
fun.
James or
Mm-hmm.
there's fights out there for him to go ahead and get back in the swing of things. Listen, man, just because he's not ready now, don't mean he can't get ready. But I don't think it could be next. He has to take one of those names that I'm talking about first
Mm-hmm.
and get back in the rhythm again, man. Because one fight, almost 3 years, I don't think is enough, man. I think he would be doing an injustice to himself if he jumped in there against one of the
Mm-hmm.
champions right away. So that's the reason I say that, man. But I'm not as big on Thurman as a lot of people are, though. So
Mm-hmm.
that may sway my opinion on it, because I'm not that big on him to begin with. But
Yeah, I think at this stage he's not the same guy he used to be, but still could get some entertaining fights. We also had some other good fighters on the undercard. We had Jesus Ramos looked exceptional last night, proving why he's one of the best up and comers at that weight class. What do you think about the Ramos brothers? Abel took a loss, but he's still one of the fan favorites. What do you think about them too? And what do you think about Jesus?
man, I love them both to death, man. But then again, I talk to them on, quite frequently, man.
Yeah.
We got each other's phone number and we talk. I actually
Mhm,
talked to Abel right after the fight, man. He actually, we reached out to each
mhm,
other and stuff, man. He felt he won the fight. And I can understand why he would feel like that, man. When you're in there
mhm,
and you put in the work, it was a close fight and could have went either way. So, I just told him I was proud of him, man, and he'll be back again and just to keep his head up and stuff like that, man. I don't think he fought horribly. I think he allowed his opponent to get back in that fight, man. So
yeah.
he's got to put a little bit of blame on himself. Now, as far as Jesus Ramos Jr., my goodness, bro. Hey, I've been trying to tell people about this
Mhm,
young man for a while.
yep.
And but I ain't got nothing bad to say about Jesus, man. Look, and the scary part is he's only 20.
I know. I
I don't
know.
even know if he's reached his manpower yet, and he's hitting hard.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
he's looking exceptional, Jesus. Most definitely. Speaking of young up and coming fighters around that weight class, one of our favorites at the moment, Xander Zayas. He's returning March 19th. How do you think Xander's been looking in his last few fights, and what are you expecting from him in 2022?
whew, man, I'm real strong, and I'm a real high critic of him because I want him to do well. That's the
Mhm,
reason I'm real critical.
mhm.
So I'm always picking and poking at whatever opponent they pick for him
Yeah.
because I don't want him. his career to stagnate. I don't know if I'm making sense. I want it to be a gradual step, man, to where he's not getting stagnated and he's getting decent work and getting tested a little bit
Yeah, I
more
agree.
every time out, man. Lavallee, I am super happy with that matchup. That's who he's fighting, Lavallee.
Oh, he's fighting Quincy Lavallee? Oh,
Yes.
that's actually a really solid test for once,
Yeah.
Xander's been fighting these guys, these walkovers. He fought one decent opponent. The guy went 6 rounds with, I forgot the guy's name, but he won all 6 rounds from him. On the Valdez card. That was a decent step up. But aside from that, Xander's been walking past these guys, and Lavallee is very crafty, he's very slick, and that'll definitely be a solid test for Xander. And I'm glad they're making that fight happen. I think he's the best prospect from Puerto Rico. Now, Cano, people know that you are fully in tune with the Puerto Rican boxing scene. Where do you rank Xander amongst upcoming prospects, and do you think he's the best at the moment?
Whew. Top 3 for sure.
Mhm,
Top 3 for sure, man. And you can put them in any order, man. But I gotta put Brian Polaco in that conversation.
mhm,
I also have to put Omar Rosario in that conversation. And Henry Moncho Lebron is probably
mhm.
a dark horse. And I say
Yeah,
dark,
I agree.
not a lot of people really pay him no mind. And he's actually fighting on that same card as well.
Oh, that's a fun card. Yeah, Henry LeBron, I think's definitely been one of the more slept on guys, most definitely. The guy that Orlando Cruz, or was it Orlando Gonzalez? I apologize. I'm so tired at the
Yeah,
moment. The
Orlando
guy
Gonzalez.
he had a pretty tough fight with LeBron, washed. So, Henry LeBron, and we know Gonzalez is no pushover, but Henry LeBron is elite, most definitely. And I definitely think he's one of the more slept on up and comers from Puerto Rico. Knockout Boxing 86 TV, shout out to him. Check out his channel if you haven't already. He says Sebastian Fundora gets all the promotion and push from the PBC that Jesus Ramos should be getting. I do think Jesus Ramos deserves a lot more push and a lot more credit. He's arguably their best prospect at the moment. I can't really think of a prospect they have better than Jesus. He's so polished. He's so fun to watch. He puts his punches together so well. He's already building up a decent resume.
They mentioned Edgar Belanga in there.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I had his childhood coach on my channel before, uh, several times. His most recent was probably about a week ago and stuff, man, because I wanted to get him on to speak on certain things because a lot of people wouldn't just take my word for it. The thing with Edgar Belanga, and I've spoke on this before thoroughly. I just don't know if people are willing to absorb the information I'm giving them, but Edgar Belanga grew up as a boxer. He was never a knockout artist.
Mhm.
And he was always boxing beautifully, good head movement, good footwork, man, nice, beautiful jab and stuff.
Mhm. Yeah.
He turned pro, man. He figured out he had power, you know. And my whole thing was, and a lot of people think I hate Berlanga, and I don't. I love Berlanga to death, okay? But I don't know. When you critique, it sounds like hate. My whole thing was that I felt as though that he got enamored with his power and
Mhm.
was getting away from what got him to the pros.
I agree.
And
I agree for sure.
you start knocking people out, man, and you start falling in love with that, man. You start less and less and less doing of the boxing that got you there. And that's
Mhm.
why I was so critical and always, yelling that he needs to do this, he needs to do that, and et cetera, et cetera. That it always came out like hate, but it's not. When you know where he came from, you would understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And I think that the best thing that happened was his last couple of fights that he had to go the distance and then he had to overcome adversity with a knockdown and stuff. Those kind of things will rattle you and wake you up and make you go back to the gym and say, dang, you know what? Maybe I need to go back to my boxing first.
I
Because
agree.
now that you know you got the power, we know you got the power. Box, set it up. Let the openings, come when they come. Be patient with it. All you have to do is box, man. You know you got the power. The man, you lure him to sleep, man. Start boxing him. Don't hit him with full shots. You hit him with a half power, 75%. You make him think that's all you got. Next thing you know, once that hand drops, come over with it. Full power. I mean, that's boxing 101. I don't know. But that's just the way I look at it. And hopefully he can get back to that.
I agree. Now, who do you think Berlanga should fight next, assuming he gets past Steve Rolls, which is actually a decent test when you look at it? Because Steve Rolls, he has a good tight guard. He'll make Berlanga have to expand his repertoire offensively. Who do you think would be a good test though for Berlanga? Say he knocks out Rolls in a few rounds.
Man, you know what? I don't know. I gotta see the Steve Rose fight first, man.
Yeah.
That's I gotta see if he's worked on his bringing his boxing back or not.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump the gun on it, and then he comes in there and lays an egg and still wins, but lays an egg. If you know what I mean, like look
Yeah.
bad winning.
Exactly, kinda like his last performance and arguably his second last performance where he gassed out and won wide, but wasn't able to get the guy that he should have gotten out of there. Lean MMA says, "You see Bam yesterday?" Yeah, Bam Rodriguez, man. That's a kid, that's a prospect, an unproven, untested prospect moving up 2 weight classes and beating a proven former champion that's much bigger than him conclusively on points. Bam Rodriguez, definitely one of the more exciting up and comers at the moment, winning a belt like that, really impressive. Did you see that fight by any chance, Cano?
No, I did not. I did not catch
Yeah, it was hard to catch these fights yesterday, so
the
many at
only
once.
the only one I caught was the first one with Khalil Cole because the
Mhm.
guy that was training him and was working his corner called me and said, "Hey, we're the first fight. Tune in." You know, and which, by
Yeah.
the way, that same guy that was in that corner is the same guy that trained Berlanga when he was a kid.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's pretty
just,
crazy.
just yeah. So once he called me, man, I said, "All right, let me go check, man." I was trying to watch, the other card, So yeah, it was kind of hard. I couldn't bounce back and forth. I'm not good at multitasking when it comes to
Yeah.
fights.
Great night of boxing, though, yesterday. We also had Chris Eubank Jr. defeat Liam Williams. I mean, Chris Eubank's a good fighter, but I still think he's food for Triple G, Jamal Charlo. I think the main I same for Demetrius Andrade. I think he loses to the big three at that weight class, Chris Eubank. I think he's a good fighter, but he's not on that level yet. He was getting touched up by Liam.
Yeah, I was happy with his performance, believe it or not, man.
I mean, it was a good performance for his
So
standard, but when you look at him
yeah,
versus,
yeah,
like, Triple
yeah.
G or Charlo, not there yet.
I just the only thing that really irritates me about him is how much of the rounds he takes off.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like, you've knocked this down, you knock a guy down 4 times during that fight, man, and there was no sense of urgency to try to test him a little more, man. Like, apply some more pressure, man, and see where he's at, man. See if he's got his bearings back yet. I didn't see that kind of sense of urgency, man, and that kinda bothers me, man. That don't kinda it bothers me a lot because you do that when an elite fighter and you give him a chance to live, they gonna come back and get you. Like, I know Triple
Mhm.
G is older on the age bracket and stuff like that, but you're not gonna do that to Triple G. You catch him with
Mhm.
something and you don't pressure him, and you allow him to get his bearings back, he's coming full throttle for you, man. And I
Yeah.
just it's just a recipe for disaster, man. So only
Most
time will tell,
definitely.
man.
Most
It's
definitely, I agree.
like Roy Jones Jr., man. He need to quit.
Yeah, yeah. I think Eubank was a better fighter when he came forward relentlessly and threw lots of punches. I think him on the back foot, it worked against Williams because I don't really trust Williams' chin, but I think when it comes to most fighters, it's not gonna be as effective him fighting on the back foot. Shout out to Enrique Luna in the chat. He says, shout out to Jesse Bam Rodriguez, most definitely. Chris is 32. Yeah, Chris Eubank is 32, but he's a young 32. I mean, he hasn't been in many wars yet. I still think he has a lot of prime left to go. Next week, though, we have Daniel Jacobs and John Ryder. I'm excited to see Daniel Jacobs back, but he's looked pretty unimpressive in his last two outings, especially his last outing against Gabe Rosado. I'm hoping we can see him make a statement against John Ryder, who is always game. What do you think about that fight? I'm picking Jacobs on points. How do you see that fight playing out?
Man, I got Jacobs winning as well, but he has been. Look, I talked to a lot of New York raised fighters and boxers that know him and stuff like that, man. And the one thing they always said is that he needs to go back and train back home where it started.
Hmm.
Because ever since he's been away from there, it's like he's not coming in with the same kind of hunger, man. And I know
Yeah.
that might sound silly, man, but it's like the silky sheets get to him and stuff like that versus where if you go back to the drawing board where you came up from, man, and the rough, rugged, and raw Brooklyn, New York, and you get that dog back in you, man. So I think that does play a part in the psyche, man. I really do, man. And they're saying it, not I'm gonna take their word for it, man. It does look like it's playing a big part in his mind.
Yeah, he's not looking all there, especially against Gabe Rosado. I mean, I can't remember him landing one really nice shot against Gabe. It was all pitter pat shots, and a lot of people thought he lost that fight. He barely edged it out on my card. I mean, we need to see the old Daniel Jacobs back. We need to see the one that fought Triple G, the one that fought Peter Quillen, the one that fought Derevyanchenko. We need to see that Daniel Jacobs back. Because if we do get that version of Danny, 168 becomes a whole new interesting weight class.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. But I'm trying to think what other interesting fights have been announced recently. We have Charlo Castaño too for Undisputed. What'd you think of the first fight, and what's your thoughts on this rematch?
The first fight could have went either way. I actually honestly scored it a draw, but I would be mad if somebody felt that Charlo got away with one there, because when you got a close fight like that, I don't consider them robberies. I consider robberies when there's something that's blatantly a blatant disparity, and I didn't think that this was the fight that was blatant. It was just a real tough, close, competitive bout. I do believe though that I'm gonna give the edge to Charlo, man, going into that rematch. Though I think he's gonna make adjustments and he's probably gonna stop Castaño. That's gonna be my prediction, man. I think he's gonna stop him, but I don't think it's gonna be early. I think it'll be in the later rounds.
Interesting, because my prediction for the rematch is actually pretty bold. I'm actually picking Charlo by a 12th round TKO. I think he's going to dig deep in that 12th round, push him, and get the late stoppage. Be either slightly up or slightly down on the cards before that stoppage. I see him digging deep. And what I also think about this rematch is you look at the first fight, I think Castaño fought his best possible game plan, the smartest game plan. He was only able to get a draw on the judges' cards. I had 7-5, but I could see 6-6. I could also see 8-4 for Castaño, but I had 7-5. He fought his best game plan. Charlo fought on the back foot, throwing a lot of 1-2s, not really fighting him on the inside or going to the body much. He has so many options in this rematch, way more than Castaño does. I just find it very hard to see a way Castaño can improve from that first fight, and I see Charlo getting a 12th round TKO. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good fight.
Yeah, it's like he fought at his very, very peak, man. He peaked at the right time and then didn't get the nod, and now it's hard to repeat those kind of performances, man. I see where you're going with it. I can see that look. But I mean, I'm picking Charlo for late stoppage too. So I guess we're both on that same trajectory with it.
Facts. And I've seen some people say, Castaño, he could have thrown more punches like he did against Teixeira, but if he threw more punches against Charlo, he would have gotten stopped. That's what I mean by finding the smartest, but still most effective game plan. If he threw more punches, he would have gotten stopped. And if he threw less, he would have lost on points. So he fought the perfect game and just barely got a draw. Lean MMA says Andre at 168 thoughts versus Zach Parker. I think Andre at 168 is interesting. I think it's a smart decision because if he beats Zach Parker, he becomes Canelo's mandatory for WBO and could potentially finally get that fight. He should be able to defeat Zach Parker though. But what do you think about him at 168?
I like it at 168. I like it because he's chasing. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to do what he can to get the Canelo fight. I still don't think he gets it though. I just don't look. I'm not a Canelo fan at all. A lot of people know that, man. But at the end of the day, man, look, the dude's in the driver's seat. He's gonna do what he wants, whether anybody likes it or not. So, I mean, the best we can hope for is that he does make that fight with Charlo that they're talking about, which they're saying is like 98% done.
I think I heard it get announced somewhere recently. If not announced, like about to be announced. So
yeah. So I mean, that's the best I think we can hope for, man, for right now, man. But I don't like Canelo, but I can't get mad at his moves no more because he's just at that level where he can choose and do what he wants now. It's
basically,
it's nothing we can do about it, man.
Now, speaking on Canelo, do you have him at pound for pound number 1 at the moment?
No.
Who do you have there?
Before I give you that, I'm gonna go ahead and let everybody know because a lot of people are gonna misinterpret this. And it's all in the wording, okay? Mightymax, I'm an old school guy. The way the original pound for pound was done was by looking at film, and it had nothing to do with accolades, had nothing to do with titles, none of that. Resume, nothing. What it had to do was whose skill set, fighting presently, do you think would travel on any of these other weight classes versus any other skill set in there? And who do you think will win? That's who your pound for pound fighter is, regardless of the resume, regardless of the accolades, regardless of the titles you've held. None of that matters. That's the original way. I don't know if a lot of people know that. All of the way they're doing it now is they're adding accolades, resume. I don't do that. So for me, that be Jerron Boots Ennis number 1.
You think Ennis beats Crawford if they fought right now?
Yes.
Interesting. That's an interesting take. I've actually been very high on Boots for ages, and when I was high on him in like 2019, I don't know if you remember this, but when I was high on him in like 2019, a lot of people were saying to me, "He's too wide. He'd get knocked out. He's nothing special." Now out of nowhere, after a few great performances, people are finally starting to realize what I've been seeing all along, and that's that Boots Ennis is the future of this sport and definitely one of the best out there.
Yeah.
I think offensively he's exceptional. My only worry and concern about him is his defense. It's good, but he does get clipped here and there. We even saw against Delorme, he got clipped a couple times. But he's so big, he's so strong, and I'm not sure if I could pick him to beat Crawford or Spence yet, but I definitely think he's a live dog in both of those fights. And for a prospect to be a live dog against two guys that are in most people's pound for pound list, especially Crawford, it's very impressive.
Now, man, Crawford does, tend to leave himself open too at times, man.
Yep,
He
he
does
does.
come back from it. So you got to give him credit for that. You can't take that away from him.
Yeah,
It's not a me doodling on him, but every fight, no fighter's perfect, man. But
I
I
agree.
want to explain why I said that before I gave you my number 1 pound for pound so you can understand why I came up with that.
Yeah, of course. Of
I
course.
didn't want everybody to think, wait a minute, he hasn't done nothing. This is the old school way.
I
You
wish people looked at it the old school way because it's much more fun to discuss who the better fighter is, and not just who has a better resume. I mean, who
But
cares? The resume, it's something to talk about, but the more fun discussion is who would win if they were in the same weight class.
yeah, you know why it was done that way? Mightymax, man, listen, a lot of these fighters get frozen out. So how do
Hmm.
they get a chance to fight and build a resume or get accolades when they're frozen out? You'll
It's
never,
true.
you know what I'm saying? This fighter might be better than all of them, but he doesn't get the opportunities.
I agree.
So,
That's happened many times. Yeah.
and because of politics or whatever, this side of the street, that side of the street. So that is why the pound for pound is the way it originally is. And that's why I always go with that, because I'm like, look, I can't assume just because. Let's use Crawford for example, man. And shout out to him. He's a very decorated fighter, man. I mean, he's champion at 135. What was it? Undisputed at 140. He's a
Hmm.
champion at 147. But if you ask the masses, they don't think his resume is that strong,
Hmm.
right? But if you look at his skills and look at his film, where he's got the tools, don't he?
Yeah. For sure.
All you could do is fight what's in front of you, man. So you got to judge him by what skill sets he got, his ring IQ, footwork, or break the fighter down all the way, and then that's how you'll come up with your pound for pound fighter, man. And for me, that is not Canelo. I don't think it's Canelo for me.
Yeah, I don't think Canelo is the best boxer on earth either. I think he has the best resume in the sport and the most accolades in the sport, but I don't think he's the best fighter in the sport. I actually think Better Biev would beat him at 175. At least the Better Biev we saw against Marcus Brown, I'd favor to beat him. He looked exceptional there. Iceman says Lomachenko. I think Lomachenko is one of the best in the sport for sure, but he's definitely not my number one. I do think he's one of the most talented fighters in recent years, especially at 130, but he's not my number one at the moment. I know Cano's not the most high in Lomachenko. You
I ain't gonna
picked
talk no
Teofimo
crap.
to beat him, right?
I
I feel
did.
like you did.
I
Yep,
did.
you called that one. Explain your thoughts on Lomachenko and where you put him on your pound for pound list.
I just don't have him there, man. I don't, man. I just look, and the reason I had picked Teofimo was for the simple fact that I knew that if you stepped and used the right angles, you'll take away the movement he has. Somebody with a high ring IQ could do that. Somebody with a smart head on their shoulders could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why those are the things I look at for pound, man. If you could be nullified that easily, I can't have you number one. I can't have you on my list, man. And he does got 2 losses on his record, and it was for a reason. It's the same thing that happened, man, over and over. Now he is a great fighter. I'm not saying he's not a great fighter. I'm never gonna say that. The dude is decorated, had a hell of an amateur career. They became a champion as soon as he stepped in this pro sport. So I'm not taking that away from him, but he is very beatable. He's not,
Yep.
and he's human.
For
He's not a
sure.
robot.
Now, who do you think wins between Vasyl Lomachenko and Devin Haney at 135?
Man, I got to go with Devin Haney.
And do you see it being like a competitive decision, or do you think he makes a statement and beats him comprehensively?
I think it'll be competitive, man. I can't really see Lomachenko getting washed by anybody.
Mhm. Yeah, fair
I don't
enough.
I don't see that. I respect the man a little bit too much for that. I think he will lose though because of the range that Devin Haney has, and he does have some good ring IQ as well. Man, knows how to cut the movement off, you
Mhm.
know. But that being said, I think Shakur beats Devin.
Yeah, I was gonna mention Shakur next. Yeah,
You
Shakur,
know,
great fighter. Looking forward to Oscar Valdez fight. He's gonna take Valdez to school. I think we all know that. We only have to give too much details. It's kind of obvious when you think about it. Only way Valdez wins if he somehow lands on these wild, weird shots in the temple and it somehow hurts Shakur, which I don't see happening.
um,
Uh, yeah, it's not gonna happen. James Thornton says, responding to you, he says, "Yeah, but when you fight the best, you're gonna lose." He wanted to rematch both the guys he lost to when it comes to Salido and Teofimo Lopez. Uh,
I'm not
that's true.
can't argue the point, man. You know,
I think we all know he would have beaten Salido in a rematch. I think that's not too disputed. I think after a couple more fights, he would have been able to get him. But the Teofimo situation, it's really unfortunate how it all happened. But let's just hope some of these big fights at 135 get made and we could get an undisputed champion. Hopefully, Haney, Cambosos, Loma, all those guys end up fighting each other.
yeah. I'm not trying to yeah. I'm not gonna put down Lomachenko like that. I hope I didn't come off that way to
No, not at all, not at all.
shoot, hey, it happens, man. And I don't write fighters off after a loss, man. But the question was on the pound for pound list, and that does affect my pound for pound list.
Agreed, agreed. And Sweet Scientist 84 says, and this might actually be indirectly towards me because I actually have Crawford above Canelo. He says, not on my pound for pound list, but on the original pound for pound list, the way that it should stay as a consensus of who would win if they were in the same weight class. He says to anyone who put Crawford over Canelo, what was that fight that made you put him over Canelo? Now, I think most people that rank Crawford so highly haven't looked at one fight. We look at the accumulative amount of fights since 2013 to now, where he's won all of them, even in fights where he was favorited in fights where some people are like, not sure if Crawford's going to win this one. He's been able to win all of them and win all of them comprehensively with no controversy. I mean, there's not one controversial Terrence Crawford fight, and I think that's something to look at as well. He's been dominant, he's been entertaining, and he showed so many different elements to his game throughout these years.
Yeah, the question was for you, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Most
mean,
definitely. What do you
uh,
rank Crawford on your pound for pound list, Cano?
he's number 5. I got Shakur number 2, and Earl Spence number 3. Tank Davis number 4.
So you think Spence would beat Crawford if they fought?
Yeah,
Interesting. I disagree there, but
I know.
I don't think we're ever gonna get the fight, so unfortunately, probably doesn't matter.
September, I think, but that's what
You think that might that'd be
that's
exceptional.
that's what I'm leaning towards. That it
The only worry is Errol has 2 mandatories after this. He has the winner of Stanionis and, Butayev, and then he has in the IBF actually, the IBF one's not as clear cut. It's mainly just 1 mandatory, actually. If he fights I think if it does happen, it'd probably happen in early 2023. If they can scrap the mandatory, I would love to see that happen as much as I like Stanionis and Butayev. Hopefully, we could get this fight at the end of the year, but I don't have my hopes high at all. I think Crawford's gonna fight Thurman next, though, if I had to guess. I
mm,
think they're setting that fight up, Crawford and Thurman, because Errol's tied up. Crawford is probably going to the PBC. Who else in the PBC could Crawford really fight? I don't think they're going to make him fight Boots. Let's
ah,
see.
but I mean, these mandatories could be trumped out easily, man, with an undisputed match, though.
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
I'm still gonna stand on my square and say Spence and Crawford happen in September.
I love to see it. I'd love to see that fight, and that'd
Timestamp.
probably be the best thing for the sport because that would we us fans were so like jaded as fans with all these fights not happening. That would give some hope for the future, and I'd love to see it. I still favor Crawford, uh, but we'll see what happens.
See, knockout boxing does it like I do.
He says,
Yeah,
who would
yeah.
win if they were the same size, no accolades? Tank, Shakur, Ennis, Crawford, Canelo. I think I'd still favor Crawford out of those 5. But number 2, it's so tough to do this. I don't know if I trust Ennis enough yet. I want to see a little more from Ennis before I put him over Canelo. So I'll put Canelo at number 2, even though he's my least favorite out of the 5. Then I put Ennis at 3. And honestly, I'd pick Tank to beat Shakur, but I think Shakur would beat him if they were the same size. I think Tank is a bit naturally bigger than him, which is and why I'd pick him. But I think Shakur's a better fighter than Tank, so I'd have Shakur at 4 and Tank at 5.
Okay. Y'all heard mine already.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Competition level, man. Look, I'll put it to you like this, man. This is where it gets tricky for me, Max. If I got two fighters that I'm rating equally, then I'll look at competition level.
Mhm.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Just on skills alone, this one's a 50-50 toss-up right here, man. Let me look at something extra to determine who I'm gonna put over
Mhm.
which one, and then that's what I'll do, you know?
I think I'm trying to think of what are some 50-50 ones where I'm like, I can't really decide who a naturally better fighter is. You look at the young fighters, all these young fighters are very similar level, like uh, Tank, Shakur, who else was I about to say? Devin, like these guys are all similar, but I think Shakur's just a little higher than the other two. I think Tank is still a little above Devin at the moment. And then there's Devin at 3, but those guys all very evenly
And I think
matched.
Tank knocks out Devin.
I think Tank would knock out Devin as well. Cam Rule says it's criminal to put Crawford over Canelo resume-wise. I don't put him above Canelo resume-wise. I think he's a more talented fighter, but I don't put him above Canelo resume-wise yet. I think if he beats Spence, that's a different discussion.
He obviously didn't hear how I explained my pound for pound, so I'm just gonna leave it alone because he missed the whole thing.
Iceman says Tank versus Thurman. If they were the same size right now, Tank, but say if the fight actually happened, I still favor Thurman personally. How about you, Cano?
I favor Tank.
You think Tank gets him out? Do you think he stops him or beats him on points?
I think he stops him, man. Thurman, man, you know what concerns me about Thurman, man, and it should anybody else, man. I understand now that Tank is a smaller guy and all that, but him being shorter and Thurman being that high up and his body being readily available for Tank, I just see Tank murdering that midsection that Thurman just doesn't like, bro. I just don't see him getting past that.
Yeah, that's possible. I just don't know if Tank, as big of a puncher is, he's so much naturally shorter than Thurman. He's coming up in weight. I think he'll be able to get Thurman's respect, but I just don't know if I could pick him over Thurman yet. I still favor Thurman in that fight. They both fought Barrios. They both have a common opponent. Barrios, I think, was much more hydrated against Thurman, but Thurman wasn't able to knock out Barrios. But I think he won the fight wider, if that makes sense. It's hard to describe. I feel like he won. He had a more polished win than Tank did, but he wasn't able to get him out of there. So their performances very evenly matched when it comes to who did better in against Barrios, but I think Keith did a little better. Enrique Luna says March 19th in Dubai. Regis Prograis versus Tyron McKenna. Prograis will walk through Tyron McKenna. McKenna's
agreed.
He's like top 30 in that weight class. Prograis will have a field day for him. Knockout Boxing says Al Heyman will make those mandatories go away the same way he made the tournament go away. Oh, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see it happen, hopefully. And I think Crawford and Spence will be one of the biggest pay-per-views in recent years. People love trying to put down Terrence Crawford as a fighter, but I think if the Spence fight gets made, that fight will get him views, most definitely. James Thornton says, not sure how Tank could be in your pound-for-pound list when the first time he fought a real lightweight, he struggled. He won. But people forget Barrios is a big guy for 140, and Tank is so short in height. So that's why I gave him so much. I actually gave him credit for that fight quickly before anything. Thank you so much, Iceman, for the super chat and donation. Truly, truly appreciate it. God bless, Iceman. And, you're always one of my favorites on here. So shout out to you for the donation. Most definitely. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Iceman. But when you look at the Barrios fight, I looked at Barrios as a big guy at 140. He's undefeated. He's hungry. And I'm saying to myself, Tank will beat this guy, but he's not a walk in the park. I mean, I counted Barrios as a top 10 guy at 140. So I gave him credit for the Barrios victory. Most people didn't. I did.
He dispatched Cowboy Carl, man, easily, man.
Easy. And I love Cowboy. He was on the channel before. Shout out to him. Great guy.
Man, that's not an easy task to do. Look at the fight he had yesterday. I thought he actually pulled it off,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, yeah. I knew they wouldn't give him a close decision. They're pushing Omar Juarez a lot. Like they really want Omar Juarez to become a big name.
Juarez was super happy with that decision. You could tell he had a sigh of relief, like, "Hey, I'll take it." I mean, but I don't think he in his heart of hearts thought he won that fight. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's not
Carl, man.
Shout out to Cowboy. I apologize. My dog still barking, won't stop. But yeah, man. He got the victory and he got the knockout. Sweet Science says depends on what skills you like. Yep.
But that's why everybody has to make their own list. That's the beautiful part about it. That's the fun of it. I don't argue with people about their pound for pound. Max is gonna have a different list than mine, and I'm gonna look at it and respect it, man, because it's his
Most
list.
definitely. Yeah,
It's
thank you.
the way
Yeah.
he dissects the film, and I might dissect it differently, and that's okay, folks. That's okay. We don't have to always agree on a list.
For sure, for sure. We don't have to. Not, that's what makes the sport fun. It's so boring if every person just does the same thing over and over. No discourse at all. Shout out to Timmy Nealon. Glad to see you in here, brother. Glad to see you as well. Let's see. Knockout Boxing says that win over Cruz with one hand will age like fine wine, just like the Barrios win. Yeah, speaking of Isaac Cruz, people do not want to talk about how Ryan Garcia once again used another fighter's name for a little bit of clout and then had secretly zero intent of making that fight. I'm really getting tired of Ryan Garcia, and I really hope Go could pull it off, but I really don't think he will. But once again, Ryan Garcia using a fighter's name for publicity with no intent of making it happen. I'm not sure if Ryan would have been able to get past Isaac Cruz, to be honest. I'm really not.
I'm not sure either, man. And
I'm not sure at all.
but look, the casuals didn't know who Pitbull Cruz was. Me and you did.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was a pushover to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Well, Isaac Cruz, I feel like, is a fighter fights his competition. So when I saw him fight, who was it? Gosh, the guy Francisco Vargas. When I saw him fight Francisco Vargas, and he looked really mediocre in that fight, I didn't know he fought to his competition yet. And I'm saying to myself, man, this guy's gonna be easy work for Tank. But then against Tank, you saw a completely different version of him, much hungrier, much sharper. And that was the type of Isaac Cruz we will get against Ryan. However, I do think styles make fights. And even though I think Tank would destroy Ryan, I'd still pick Ryan to beat Isaac Cruz. But I wouldn't have been confident in that call. Lean MMA says now do pound for pound with resume included.
Man, I would never do it with the resume included, man. I mean, if Max wants to do it, that's up to him, man. But I've never really sat down and looked at it based on resume, because that's gonna be subjective too, man. You can look at BoxRec a lie to you, man. Let me go ahead and clear that up also, man. BoxRec will lie to you. You could see a name on a resume, and then it might say unanimous decision or something like that. And when you go back and look at it, it really wasn't a unanimous decision.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could show KO on the BoxRec, and it really wasn't a knockout, like in the case of Darwin Price when he threw his knee and they put it down as a knockout. He didn't get knocked out. He just couldn't continue because of his injury. So that's why I don't like looking at resume too much.
It's ineffective. And once again, I appreciate the super chat, Cano. Much appreciated, bro. As well as, you're always welcome on the channel. And it's been great having you on so far. It's much appreciated, brother.
Yeah, I had to dibble dabble, man, on the other side and send you something, man,
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see. Sweet Sign says, oh, yeah. Let's see. James Thorne says that fight could have arguably been a draw. I actually had Tank and Cruz a draw personally. But we know he did get injured, to be fair. How'd you score that one, Cano?
I had Tank win it, man, but I don't think it was like by a landslide. But I like fights like that, man. Look, fighters are not always gonna look phenomenal, man. You're not gonna get throughout a career of a boxer, you're gonna have fights like that. And to be honest with you, all fighters need a fight like that in their career. That's what keeps them hungry. That's what makes them go back, man, and look at film and work on their technique and work on anything they might have saw in that film that they could have corrected. Fighters it's okay to have an off night, man. The fighters are not always going to be 100%. So I don't know. I guess I'm in a different breed because I try not to crucify these fighters so harshly, man, when it comes to matchups and stuff like that, man. I mean, hey, it's boxing, man.
For sure. I agree most definitely. No one's perfect, and yeah, Tank had issues with Isaac Cruz, but I think a lot of people, including Tank to an extent, underestimated Pitbull. Big Boys Boxing says, did neither of you have Usyk in your top 5 pound for pound? I have Usyk number 2 for my resume pound for pound, but if we're looking at skill wise, he's definitely someone in the top 5. I'm not sure where I'd put him. He'd be pretty high up there. I actually rank Usyk very highly. I actually think what makes Usyk so incredible as a fighter isn't even just him as a fighter. I think it's his mental strength in the ring. He is so solid in the ring mentally that I think it's very difficult for anyone to beat him. I'm not even sure if I'd pick Tyson Fury to beat Usyk. That's how much faith I have in Usyk as a fighter. I mean, a very good fighter in my opinion.
I like Usyk a lot. I'm glad he mentioned his name, man. Unfortunately, man, you can't fit everybody in the list.
Can't fit everyone.
Part, man.
There's so many great fighters.
Yeah. I mean, he's good, man. I mean, like, I think he's gonna beat Joshua again in the rematch.
Me too. I think he's gonna stop AJ this time. I really do. James Thorne says that fight should have been a draw. How is the Barrio swing gonna age like fine wine? He's gonna do nothing at welterweight. No one said the Barrio swing's gonna age like fine wine.
He's talking to Knockout Boxing 86 TV in the chat, man. They going back and forth with that. I seen it. It's all good. Let them have a little fun, you know.
Of course, that's what I'm talking about. The sports more fun like that. Yeah. Shout out to Iceman. He says salute to Cano Loco Sports. Sweet Science of Brawling actually says you guys do woman with men pound for pound. Let's talk about a hot take. Do you mix woman with your men when you do pound for pound?
Nah.
I can't do that either personally. I think it's just too different. It's
too. Speaking of women, we got Rhino and Katie Taylor, bro. I got to hear what you think on this.
I used to think Katie Taylor would win that fight, but in recent performances from Katie Taylor, she's going life and death. She's struggling in every fight. And these girls she's struggling with are not on Serrano's level. Serrano will defeat Katie Taylor, in my opinion, but I don't think she'll stop her. I think Katie's tough. They'll go the full 10. It'll be like a 6-4, 7-3 win.
Okay.
You think she'll stop her?
I think she is gonna stop Taylor.
What round you going with?
9.
Yeah, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna be in the later portion of the fight. We saw Katie struggle with a puncher twice in Dauphine Pursuit. She's gonna have lots of issues against Serrano, lots. And I think it's actually unfortunate that this fight got pushed back so much because if it happened originally, she would have had a much better chance. But she's slowing down. Serrano's kept it up. It's gonna be a rough night, most definitely. And speaking of those two, Jake Paul, out of all people, stepping up and actually making something happen. This guy coming out of nowhere, being hated on by everyone. I think it's getting much harder to be a hater of Jake Paul in today's current climate of the sport. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Nah, I agree with that, man.
I find him obnoxious in many ways, but he's doing some good things for the sport.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't like the guy at all, man. But when he linked up with Amanda Serrano, I understood why they went with Jake Paul. And look, he made the fight happen. Let's just be real. I know all the behind the scenes, but I'm not gonna go into detail. But that's the reason this fight happened with Katie. Jake Paul. And I don't know if you saw him, man, with Devin Haney and stuff, man, but he's also trying to push for that Haney Cambosos fight. So
of course.
I can't be mad at him for that. He's trying to push some good fights, man, and he's got good fights lined up now.
Yeah, shout out to Jake Paul. He's very entertaining as well. I mean, you don't have to enjoy him as a person, but whenever Jake Paul is in the mix of a fight, he's just naturally he's entertaining. He's an entertainer, and he's been doing some good things as a promoter. Shout out to Toby Bartlett in the chat. Always glad to see you, brother. He says, salute Mightymax, Cano Loco in the chat. Just saw you were live, Max. So glad I caught you. Much respect to the future boxing. Truly appreciate it, Toby. Great to have you. The OG Toby Bartlett. Lean MMA says most of BoxRec is pretty accurate. I mean, their rankings aren't. Let's say that. But what I like BoxRec for is that they do have the previous fights. They have the schedules. That you can look through resumes through there and details like where they're from and all that stuff. But when it comes to their rankings, and as you said, they could be very deceiving because you see a fight, you see like Andre Ward beats Kovalev by unanimous decision. Even if you had Ward winning that fight, that was not your typical unanimous decision. So BoxRec tricks a lot of people unintentionally.
And BoxRec ain't as accurate as y'all think, man.
It's not. Let's see.
I've seen names misspelled. I've seen be put on there that are incorrect, like for upcoming fights and stuff like that, and I be knowing that's not the right fight. But I had an argument with somebody one day, man, and I can't remember what fight it was, man. But anyway, I told him, hey, man, such and such is fighting such and such. Well, BoxRec said they're fighting somebody else. I'm like, okay, don't believe it, And then when it comes out, I was right. Was I the first one to give y'all Joet versus Navarrete? Was I not the first one? I'm always, and Max can attest to this. I've gave him Xander's next opponents a lot.
Every time, including today.
So I mean, I'm not one of those guys that don't speak until I know 100%. And so what I'm trying to say is I've seen that a lot on BoxRec and they'd be wrong. And
remember when BoxRec had Navarrete versus Jesse Magdaleno on there for months? We knew that fight wasn't going to happen.
Right.
I mean, they jumped the gun. They jumped the gun way too often, and they got to get that sorted out. Sweet Science says, I worry about Tank just getting outpointed when he gets to the elites. If he can't KO any of those guys, he's not winning on points. I disagree. I think Tank can outbox a lot of these solid fighters at the moment. I really do think he can outbox a lot of these guys. He's shown glimpses of pure talent without having to knock a guy out.
Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't tell you he was Xander was fighting Quincy Lavallée.
I had no idea he was fighting Quincy Lavallée.
Man, you know you could have texted me on it. I knew like a couple of months ago.
The fights, I actually didn't know that they had an opponent yet because it's all the way March 19th. I was getting ready though. I was saying another couple weeks I may have to, get Cano to tell me.
Yeah,
he always.
Man, look, man, folks, and for those of y'all who don't watch boxing that extensively, Quincy Lavallée is a live opponent, man. It's a good form.
He is. Quincy Lavallée, I mean, he's a guy that's pulled off upsets before. He gives every prospect that this guy fights, he gives an interesting fight. He's a nice dude as well. Shout out to him. We follow each other on Instagram, so I got nothing but love for Quincy. He's slick. He has awkward defense. I'm not gonna say he'll give him issues, but he'll give him different looks for sure. Shout out to Sweet Science of Brawling. He says, I get my official results from Mightymax. I trust your judgment above all else on YouTube or the judges. Truly appreciated. I'm happy to see you here as well. I love your profile picture. Thank you very much, brother. Let's see. Knockout Boxing 86 TV. If you do pound for pound based on resume, it's too damn flawed in my opinion. Carlos Quadras has a better resume than John Ennis. If you're building a boxer, you're starting with Quadras' skill set or Ennis' skill set. I mean, I agree with that to an extent for sure. I think it would be way better if all fans can just change and say, you know what, let's do it off of talent, not resume. But we're so far behind, and it's taken over where it's basically if you don't have it as resume, you're off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm an old guy, man, so I'm gonna always do it the old school way.
Yeah, I respect that for sure. Sweet Science of Brawling says skills wise, Usyk number one. He's not my number one, but I could see why you think that. I mean, he went undisputed at cruiserweight, so he showed he could beat the slightly quicker guys, and that weight class was underrated in my opinion. I mean, Murat Gassiev, Marius Briedis, Michael Hunter. I mean, he had a fun run there for sure. And then he goes to heavyweight and already goes unified, 3 of the 4 belts, beating a guy way bigger than him in his home country. I mean, this guy's very talented, but I still can't tell you that he's a better fighter, in my opinion, than Terrence Crawford off of ability. I still think there's a lot of flaws in Usyk. I feel like he's gotten these victories not off of talent, but off of mindset and off of determination. Let's see. Camrul says it's not pressing for some reason. AJ wins rematch, by the way. No way Usyk stops him. He's too small. He will stop, in my opinion, because if AJ wants to gain lots of weight and try to knock Usyk out, he's going to go balls to the wall early. He's not going to be able to get Usyk out of there. He's going to gas and get stopped in the mid-rounds. If he stays the same as he did in the first fight, Usyk's going to beat him the same way, but this time he'll be way more confident. He'll be beating him even worse, and he'll be able to get him out of there late. That's what I think will happen, depending on whatever way AJ comes in for the rematch.
I'm with you on that, man. I mean, look, the only thing AJ already clearly showed he can't outbox him. That's how he lost to begin with.
For sure.
What's he gonna do? Come on in and take them chances and give Usyk the opportunities to counter? Nah.
Yeah, of course. I agree. Most definitely. I don't see any way. I can't envision Usyk as a guy that gets knocked out by anyone. I just can't picture Usyk on the canvas. He's not the type to go down against these guys, in my opinion. Jimbo MOB says, who do you want to see Canelo fight next? Charlo, Golovkin, or Bivol? Anyone but Triple G, I'll be fine with. If it's Charlo, I'll be fine with it. If it's Bivol, I'll be fine with it. I don't know why Triple G's name is brought back into the mix. No one wants to see that fight except for maybe Dan Rafael. No one has any interest in Canelo Triple G3. Let's just end those discussions now. And I'm talking to Eddie Hearn in particular. I like the Bivol fight. I want to see him fight Better Biev because I want to see him lose. So let's get the Better Biev fight.
Just say that, man. Can we replace Golovkin's name with Better Biev?
I agree. Yeah, if he's ready, why would he go from 175 back down? I mean, why would he go up and weight? I don't want to see Bivol go down in weight either because they're saying Bivol down to 168. I don't want to see Bivol go down in weight. He's already looking mediocre at 175 in his last couple fights. Make Canelo go back up to 175 like he did against Kovalev. It's crazy how this sport plays out sometimes. Let's see.
Better Biev, that's the name they ain't trying to touch. They ain't trying to mention that man's name.
They were mentioning him after the fight he had in March, but once he beat up Marcus Brown, they've been silent about Better Biev. I haven't heard his name once since that victory.
Crickets,
because they know Better Biev is a monster. I mean, they know he's no Kovalev or no washed Kovalev. The Better Biev that fought Marcus Brown, he's big, he's strong, he hits hard, he's a tank. He's relentless. This guy had a gash, blood going down, and it woke him up. So shout out to Better Biev. Toby Bartlett says, I've always rated Usyk, but what's people going to say if AJ does pull off the win? Are they going to put AJ in their pound for pound list? You know, I was going to put him on my pound for pound list if he beat Usyk, but since he lost him, then he beats him again. I don't know if I can put him on there because he's way bigger than Usyk. He was supposed to win the first fight in many people's minds, including mine. Maybe. I don't know. I have to go back and forth. We really have to see how it plays out. And I like AJ, so I'm a little biased, but I'm not sure. Would you put him on your pound for pound list, Cano, if AJ sleeps Usyk?
Nah, but I give him credit for the win.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. That would
I'm
be
not one of
very
these
good win.
guys that ain't gonna give a fighter credit, man. If he wins, he wins. I'm a salute. Hey, more power to you, man. You made the adjustments, came back, got your bells back. Hey, I can't be mad at that.
Me either. I can't at all either. Iceman says Savannah Marshall versus Clarissa Schilzi. There's 3 female fights that are big this year. One's been set with Serrano Taylor. We have Marshall versus Clarissa Shields, and we also have Alicia Baumgardner and Michaela Meyer. But this is definitely one I'm intrigued in, Marshall versus Shields. I still favor Clarissa Shields to edge out Savannah Marshall. I think she'd edge her out. A close decision. I think that'd be by far toughest fight as a pro, though. Marshall's big. She hits harder than the average female fighter. How do you think this fight would play out, Cano?
I think Clarissa Shields outboxes her, man.
Yeah. I don't trust Savannah Marshall as much as I trust Clarissa in that pick.
Yep.
I think she's a little green still, Savannah Marshall. Thornton's picking Katie Taylor to beat Serrano. I mean, anything's possible. I was picking her way back. I think Cano even knows at one point I was picking Katie Taylor, but not anymore. I mean, she's slowing down. We've seen it. And Serrano's she's brutalizing her opponent's faces. I mean, it's making it look like these women fighters are fighting men by the way their faces are looking in Serrano. I mean, she's hitting these girls with lots of power.
Look, I'm just glad that they finally made the fight so we can actually get the real results of it. You
Yeah,
know, there's
I agree.
no more back and forth. I mean, well, until the fight, of course, until April 30th, of course, we're gonna discuss the fights and stuff like that. But I mean, it ends on April 30th. We actually get a legit result at what's gonna happen between these two ladies, man. So I'm happy about that part of it.
Yeah, this fight was supposed to happen in when was it supposed to happen? August of 2020, and it got postponed and and it finally ended up getting reset. With Serrano having much more momentum right now than Katie.
Yeah.
Box says that anyone of sane mind have Ward beating Kovalev. It's really weird because the first time I saw the fight live, I don't know what it was, but I actually thought Ward won by a point. But I rewatched it the next day and I had Kovalev winning 115-112. So the first time I watched it, maybe it's because I had the volume on. I don't know what it was. I thought Ward edged it, but ever since then, I've had Kovalev winning the first fight. How'd you score it though, Cano?
I had Ward by 1, man, but I did never go back and rewatch it either.
It was a very weird fight. I'll say that much. Sorry, for some reason I mispressed something.
I didn't watch it, like you did, and view it again. Maybe I should have, but I mean, at this point, what's the difference now?
Yeah, we saw the rematch. I mean, no point. But I still think it played out very awkwardly. I mean, neither fighter looked himself at all, to be honest. Kovalev didn't look himself, and even Ward, when he started to win rounds, it wasn't the same Ward that we usually see. It looked like he was discouraged. Lean MMA says Navarrete is the best featherweight in the world right now. Agree. I think he is, to be honest. I think Gary, though, if he's healthy, would still might edge out Navarrete. I mean, we all know that Gary that fought Magsayo wasn't himself. He was injured heavily. And he still, in some people's cards, won. I didn't think he won, but he made it close for sure. Closer than people act. But right now, I do trust Navarrete to beat up on most of these guys. I definitely pick Navarrete over Mark Magsayo. Where do you rank Emmanuel Navarrete featherweight?
Top dog, man, at featherweight right now. You can't dispute it. I mean, you put in the work. He's put in the work.
Yeah, he's looked very good. And I think that's a guy, because of his measurements, has potential to be on a lot of people's pound for pound list, because he's going to be able to move up in weight and beat some of these guys at 130 in the future, maybe even at 135 at one point, become a multi-weight champion, because he's a big guy, Navarrete, and he's long and he's very awkward. So Navarrete definitely has potential in the future. Jimbo says AJ can avenge the Usyk loss. AJ took bad losses to White Ruiz, but soundly avenged those losses in the rematch. AJ has a good track record of getting revenge wins. AJ is a youth talent to come back. I mean, he does have potential to avenge this loss, but I just don't see it. I think Usyk is even better when it comes to rematches, not in the pros, but in the amateurs. And I think Usyk got AJ's number. When he lost to Ruiz, it looked a bit like a fluke in many people's minds. Well, I think Usyk just simply comprehensively beat him and was the better fighter. So you guys, what was that?
So do you guys have Alexander Usyk in your top 10 pound for pound? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I had him at 1 for a period of time. I mean, I would probably put him back on there at 1 if he beats AJ in the rematch if that fight happens. And I think he's definitely one of the best fighters in the sport, most definitely.
By the way, man, now that he mentioned that, man, look, the original way of picking your pound for pound fighter, never in there was it written that you can't choose a heavyweight. By the way, I don't know where that
I
came.
don't know where that also annoys me, and that really annoys me. I'm really tired of these people saying you can't include heavyweights on a pound for pound list. What does that even mean? I mean, that just came out of nowhere. I'll always put heavyweights on my list.
Yeah, it's not written in there anywhere, so I could never understand it. I'm like, all right, they're just making up everything as they go now, man, and not they're just forgetting the original roots of it, man, and just move the goalpost like a billion miles.
Soon they're gonna be like, if you don't wear Everlast boxing gloves, you're ineligible for pound
Yeah,
for pound list. I mean, it's
you
at
know
that.
they're gonna keep adding to it. You already know they are.
Yeah, they're gonna keep making little adjustments. If you don't fight for this company, you're not pound for pound. If you haven't knocked out this many fighters, I mean, they're gonna start adding these weird goalposts. Uh, what do you guys think of Raymond Ford getting another gift? I didn't see that Raymond Ford fight, but I know Raymond Ford's gotten some questionable, iffy decisions.
He didn't win that fight.
You saw that fight?
I had to go back and watch it because I was listening to Knockout Boxing 86 TV and KQKC do their little post fight show, man. And Knockout Boxing 86 TV was talking about it. So I'm like, damn, man, I guess I got to pull up my DAZN app and go look at it. You know, he didn't win that fight.
Like, it was bad. Like, it was an 8-rounder, right?
Yeah.
And how many did you give to the other guy?
And I thought the other guy won by a round. Okay, but listen, you gotta understand this, man. They gave a spread score for Raymond Ford, man, like something like
Yeah.
6 rounds to 2 or something like that. I'm like, huh? I couldn't understand it. I'm like, nah, man. I think that to me, that's even worse than not getting the fights, man. The way these judges are ruining a lot of fights,
A
man.
lot of fights. And I'm a Triple G fan, so you know that I hate a lot of these judges because you look at both, especially the first Canelo fight. I've always looked at judges differently, but Raymond Ford, I like the kid, but he got to make some changes quick because this is another controversial fight on his track record.
Now he can fix it though. I will say this
Yeah,
much.
of course, he has natural ability that I've definitely seen in his fights, and I think if he can polish his flaws up, and really work on a lot of things, he has potential for sure.
Yeah, everybody, yeah. A lot of fighters get gifts every now and then. I agree with Jaguar on that, man. Look, I'm not irate about it, but it's like it hurts, man. Because when you got these fighters putting in the work, man, and they genuinely put in the work, man, and they felt like they pulled off that upset, man. That's a hard pill for them to swallow, man. That's how I gotta look at it on both sides. That's why I look at it like that, man. Ryan Carl, I thought did enough, and I like that.
Yeah, of course. Ryan Carl is always getting the short end of the stick. It really breaks my heart because he's a fan favorite. He'll fight anyone, anywhere. Ryan Carl deserves another pay-per-view event. I love watching Ryan Carl. Such a class act as well. So it's unfortunate. Again, he loses one where many people thought he may have edged it out. Box says we include Ennis's weight bullying event. Now here's the thing with fighters getting accused of weight bullying. When a fighter has that natural advantage of being bigger, they also sacrifice cutting weight and how tough it is to cut weight when you're naturally bigger. So yes, you're naturally bigger than your opponent, but the amount of wear and tear it has on you the night of the fight, having to cut all of that extra weight, almost takes away that size advantage because you're not yourself because of how much weight you've had to cut prior to the fight. So yes, you can call someone a weight bully, but you look at it this way. You know how much weight that guy had to cut to make that weight, and how he really just isn't the same fighter on fight night that he would be if he was fully hydrated. So you could call him a weight bully, but does he really have those advantages?
My whole thing on weight, man, is if you step on the scale for the weigh-in and you make the weight, we got to fight. Now, I don't care who looks taller, who looks bulk. I don't care about none of that. They both had to make the same contractual weight. And once you do that, it's you can't say nothing else about it after that. That's me. That's me the way I look at it.
I mean, it's so tough for a fighter that's called a weight bully to actually make that weight, that they sacrifice so much that once it's actually time to fight, they don't really have as much as of an advantage as people really believe. And yes, I think Ennis is a lot bigger than the average welterweight, but he's not a massive guy. He's no Sebastian Fundora. I mean, he's only 5'10". He's taller than Crawford by a couple inches. He's about Errol's height. So, he's not that big for the weight.
Pitbull Cruz got to fight, man, on the Spence Ugas undercard. He's going to be fighting. Oh, my God. He's fighting Gamboa.
Oh, come on, bro. I was hoping you say Michelle Rivera or something. He's fighting Gamboa.
Yeah, man.
Oh, my gosh, man. Gamboa might get hurt in that fight. He might. I don't want to see that happen. Well, can they stop recycling Gamboa, please? I mean, this guy's been recycled so much. This is ridiculous. I'm surprised Ryan didn't fight Gamboa, to be honest. I mean,
let me tell y'all something, man. Look, we complain about these fighters not fighting each other at 135, man. Gamboa's fought them all.
Yeah, Gamboa might have the best resume at the weight class, and he doesn't even win these fights.
He's lost all of them, but damn, he's got in the ring with all of them. Golly, that shit.
I mean, Tank, Devin, he was about to fight Colbert. Now he's fighting Cruz. I mean, wait, when does that fight? Is that fight set now, Spence Ugas, for what day?
April 16th.
April 16th. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate that. So April 16th, we got Spence Ugas. That fight is set. We got Pitbull Cruz and Tank on the undercard. Is it the co-main or just a regular undercard? Or you're not sure yet?
Seriously.
I hope it's not the co-main. I think it's Stanionis Butayev.
Undercard. It just says undercard. That's all they gave.
Okay, that's gonna be a fun card though if Stanionis and Butayev's on there. That's a hidden gem. But man, I'm so tired of Gamboa being recycled. I mean, the guy's a corpse. Just let the guy retire. I mean, guys had enough. This is too much, man.
I kept telling folks, man. The thing about it is you can't be mad at Gamboa, man. It's the same thing with I'll use another fighter that's being used the same way, Delorme.
Yeah, Delorme has been used the same way.
And I've talked to Delorme. I'm like, bro, man, just retire. Like, I'm real honest with him, And he says, I know, but they keep calling my phone. Am I supposed to turn the payday down?
I mean, he's probably getting decent paydays for these fights. Somewhat decent.
And I don't know Gamboa, but I'm assuming it's the same thing happening. They keep calling my phone.
Oh, for sure. They definitely they like having these fighters having Gamboa's name on their resume because people remember the OG Gamboa. That's what they think of.
Yeah. So I mean, you can't be mad at them for taking their little payday, man. Look, they know deep down inside, they already know that they're not there no more.
Of course.
Shit, if they can get another payday, they just do it. And that's what Delorme tells me. So they call me again. I'm gonna pick the phone up again. I'm gonna fight.
Yep. Very similar situation. Any news on Delorme? Any future opponents? Is he coming back soon at least, or you don't really know yet?
Look, I hope he don't.
Me too.
I really don't, man. Like some of these fighters, they just fight too much, man. Like, yeah, I get it.
Chin's gone, man. I mean, you still see the ability, but I mean, he was lighting boots up a little bit, but he crumbled early. I mean, his chin's not there. It's not there.
Just let it go. Let it go. You've made good money already, man. Like,
yeah. Cameron says, by the way, Usyk is good, but he lost Maris Breedis. He did not lose to Maris Breedis. He won that fight 8-4. It was a competitive fight, but he won it for sure. Thoughts on we mentioned this earlier in the video. I mean, he's not looking horrible under Roy, but I don't think that should be the way he goes. And he definitely loses to Charlo or Triple G. I think it's a good matchup for fans, but it's not a good matchup for Eubank. He goes 0-2 in those fights for sure.
You know what, man? I was just thinking, man, 'cause somebody actually put it in the chat, and I actually agree with Toby
Bartlett,
man. Don't let him wheel out Gamboa on a wheelchair, man. You know what, man?
Wow,
he makes a good point, man, because these medical staff should put an end to some of these fighters, bro.
Yeah,
like Gamboa should be one of those fighters that they should look at and say, look, we're not going, we can't keep, you don't have a license no more.
Yeah, they may have to.
You got to save them from themselves, man. So I wish they would do that, man. Like, I wish they would do that to him and Delorme, man. Like, hey, enough.
Yeah, I think it's too much. It's getting like, I don't want either of these guys to get hurt, especially Gamboa, because Gamboa, he doesn't go down quick. He'll take bombs after bomb. He'll keep getting up from knockdowns. He's tough as nails. Box says, go ahead.
Tony Boswell in the building. What's good,
Oh,
man?
shout out to Tony Boswell. Shout out to the homie Tony Boswell. Glad to see you as well. Box says Eubank's one of the most overrated fighters in sport. I think he gets overrated by people in the UK, but I think people in America underrate him, so it's kind of like he's balanced out. I think Eubank's decent. I'd still like to see the Billy Joe rematch, but he'd lose that fight, but I'd still like to see it. Yeah, I don't think Roy's the best coach. I agree. At least not for Eubank. I think my boy Brian Perella, who we've had in the channel, shout out to him. I think he's actually benefited a lot from Roy, but I don't think Chris Eubank has.
That's what I tell people a lot, man. Don't pay attention too much to the name, man. What it is these fighters have a certain trainer that they're gonna click with, and just remove the name, man. Like Roy is good for Perella.
For sure. He's been
You know what I'm
very
saying?
good for him.
You'll get somebody like, let's just throw a name out just to throw it out. Ronnie Shields might not be the fit for Perella. He's
Exactly.
got a big name. Derek
Look at
James.
Eddie Reynoso. I mean, Luis Neri looked horrible under Eddie Reynoso, but Canelo, Ryan, I mean, these guys are looking quite good under him.
You just got to throw out the names, man, and just go keep, like these fighters, man, they got to seek out somebody that's going to make them click, and that's just the bottom line of it, man, regardless of name, man. Like, look at, I'll tell you an underrated one, man, is Javier Centeno.
Oh, very underrated. I mean, yeah, that guy might be one of the future primetime trainers because he has Cambosos. Now he has Xander. He got some other people. So he got I forgot her name, but he has a good female fighter in his stable as well. Javier Centeno, I met him too. Very, very nice guy as well. He'll definitely be one of the fans' support as well. And he got some great guys up and coming there. So
yes, he does. He makes for great interview too, man. I had him on my channel before too, man.
Yeah, I like Centeno.
Great, man. He'll give you everything he's got, man, and he's got a lot of hidden gems down there, man.
Most definitely.
Max knows just as good because he lives down there. He lives next to that.
Of course. Yeah, I've been to that gym for sure. They always work hard. They always support each other. Great environment there as well. Hardworking, lots of work ethic. Hitek 909 says Triple G's been MIA. Sometimes forget still in the sport. I mean, the guy's old. I mean, he probably has one, maybe two fights left. Hopefully, the Canelo fight isn't one of those two fights. I'd like to see him fight Murata and Andrade, or Murata and Charlo, or those three guys, and then call it a day. Do what you have to do at 160. Be the best guy at 160 in recent years, and then call it a day. And this is coming from a Triple G fan. I do not want to see you fight Canelo again. I know you'll get paid a lot, but what is it? You're already 2-0 against Canelo in many people's mind. But some people have you 1-1. If you lose that fight, you'll be 1-2 in many people's mind. End it on a win, Let's see.
I think it'll go bad for Triple G a third time though.
No reason to have it happen. I know a payday, but come on. I mean, you're gonna get people don't realize how much he's making against Murata. He's making bank against Murata in Japan. No reason to lose and make a little more.
Right.
Jimbo says it's rumored Canelo and Bivol meet at 160 and both men will put their belts on the line. Bivol history. Yeah, I mean, that's a fun fight, but I know he wants to he'll go to 168, but the only reason he really says that is because he's been frozen out. Maybe not because they're scared of him, but just because of unfortunate circumstances at 175, and he's desperate to get a big fight. If he gets that Canelo fight, push for it to happen at 175. I do not want to see you go down in weight to fight Canelo. It won't be the top version of you.
Yeah, I don't believe that rumor anyway, man. I think it's gonna be Charlo and
I hope it's Charlo. Actually, I don't want to see him go that the zone route because I don't want to see him fight Triple G.
I'm not usually off on these things, man. I ain't saying that. Now that one I'm telling you is not 100, but that's the word that's looking like it's going towards that. So let's hope.
At one point, we thought it was like set, and then some backtracking. But now I think it's going to be almost every fight of Canelo that's been rumored to happen ended up actually happening. There was a rumor of the plant fight happening, and then eventually it happened. Same for Billy Joe, same for Callum, same for Triple G. It's eventually going to happen. If not next, eventually. Box says Canelo fight better be in a few years. Yeah. I think he's going to wait him out. He's done that before. He'll do it again.
Yeah.
I think he's going to wait. I think he's going to wait for him to get a little older, and he's going to try to put a rehydration clause on there. And Better Biev can just barely make 175. So if there's some sort of rehydration clause, he's probably going to get knocked out, to be honest, because he'll be that trained.
Yeah, I don't like all the clauses, bro.
I hate them. So dumb. So dumb. Man. Just another slight advantage for the A side, Shout out to Cone Gaming. Glad to see you, brother. Shout out to, it's not let me press it. Boxing Learner in the chat as well. Shout out to you, most definitely. KK says, what do you think about women's boxing 2-minute rounds? I'll let you go first on this one, Cano. What do you think about 2-minute rounds?
Jeez, I actually spoke about this earlier today. Jeez. Man, the thing about it is, man, I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't have a problem with it. And I'm gonna tell you why I don't have a problem, because I speak to a lot of these professional female boxers behind the scenes and on interviews. Mostly behind the scenes. I've interviewed a few. And when I ask them this question, they don't get too excited about it. Like, we don't
Mm.
care about that 3-minute round, because honestly, man, if we go to 3 minutes, are they gonna pay us more because we're fighting longer? The answer to that is no. They're not gonna want to pay him more. So they're okay with just fighting the 2 minutes rounds, you know? And it doesn't
Yeah,
make a difference to them. You'll have your anomaly, where one or two might say, yeah, I want three because I could set up a knockout or something like that. But that's rare. Not all of them
rare.
are on that same type of time. And they compared it to, like, if you work a 40-hour job, and they ask you to work 10 more hours for a total of 50, but for the same amount of money as the 40-hour, would you work the extra 10 hours at your job or not?
No reason. No reason.
And that's their whole look on it, man. I said, they're not gonna pay us extra for the extra minute per, for the 3-minute rounds, then we don't want it, you know?
Yeah,
And
I feel you. I think also it being 10 2-minute rounds kind of makes female boxing higher, faster pace and more entertaining. I think if it's 10 3-minute rounds, fights won't be as entertaining and it'll turn people off. If the people that already dislike female boxing will dislike it more. And there's a lot of haters of female boxing as there is. Might as well keep it entertaining so they can at least give it some credit. I think 10 2-minute rounds makes these fights entertaining, and I think for their health's sake as well. 10 3-minute rounds, a lot more time, a lot more pressure to the head, a lot more flush shots. I don't want to see anyone get hurt as well, personally. Cone Gaming says he had that 8-4 Kovalev. Iceman also said 8-4 Kovalev. Box said clear decisive Kovalev. Let's see. Cone Gaming says Navarrete is the best featherweight, but his reign's not been too good via Diaz and Joet. Not a great resume. Watch, he's going to end up fighting Melanovsky or Shimzu. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. People need to talk more about how he's been fighting Shakur Stevenson leftovers and not been looking as impressive in those victories. I mean, Shakur beat Christopher Diaz when Shakur is basically a prospect. He beat Joaquin Gonzalez for his first title. He beat both of them very wide and convincingly. And Navarrete, his fights against both of them were really entertaining, but he didn't dominate either of them. And, I want to see him fight some elite opposition. The Ruben Villa fight was excellent. Shout out to Ruben Villa. He's been on the channel. He's a really nice guy. That was a good opponent for Navarrete. I want to see more Isaac Dogbe / Ruben Villa type of opponents. And speaking of Dogbe, he got really lucky to get that Christopher Diaz win. I'm annoyed because I actually picked Christopher Diaz to beat Dogbe, unlike most people. I feel like I deserve credit for that prediction, but I didn't get it because on paper Dogbe beat him. But I thought Diaz did the better work there.
I had his trainer on my channel too after the fight.
Yeah. How you thought Christopher won that one as well, right?
I thought he did.
Yeah.
And but I was honest with Coach Nelson, man. I said, look, man, you let Dog Bay let him breathe a little bit too much
Yeah.
in certain rounds. So you gotta understand that's could happen if you do that. You know what I'm saying? I believe he won, but
He
you
kind of
let
let the fight slip away a little bit.
yes,
He
yeah.
did, he did let the fight. He let Dogbe win some swing rounds. Get some swing rounds.
Mhm.
And I think if Diaz didn't let go of the gas a little bit and did what he did in the early rounds throughout the night, it would have been a conclusive win. They should push for that rematch, though. I think they should push for it
They
because,
won't give it to him. He's trying. He's been trying.
yeah, Christopher Diaz, though, shout out to him. He's willing to fight anyone. He's entertaining as well. A fighter that definitely deserves more credit in the sport. I've been high on him for a while, actually. I actually thought he was better than Verdejo when Verdejo was really pushing like 2017, 2018, and Christopher Diaz was coming up. I was actually a little higher on Diaz, and I think now I may have been right because, looking at Verdejo, I mean, that guy's probably done.
I
And,
said that Bravo was better than Verdell.
yeah, I
I don't,
agree.
I mean, and he still got a long way to go, but I don't know. I just knew the history of him. I know the history, like I know what went on coming up in the amateurs and all that. I know the whole stories. And maybe Verdejo could never mess with Nestor, man.
Yeah, for sure. I
Like
agree. I
one on
never
one.
trusted Verdejo as a fighter. I always saw he always looked a little shaky in fights he shouldn't have, like the William Silva fight. He looked decent, but he looked shaky. And, then he got stopped by Lazada. I mean, just wasn't there. Cameron says Usyk beat better BF twice in the amateurs. Yeah, but I mean, look how much bigger Usyk. I mean, Sean Porter beat Usyk in the amateurs. I don't really put too much stock in the amateurs. I put more stock in the accolades they did in the amateurs. How many, silver gloves, golden gloves, Olympics. I put more stock in that than who they actually beat in front of them because they're kids when they beat those guys. Toby says Jesse Bam Rodriguez looks like the real deal. Oh, yeah, for sure. But he shouldn't stay at 115. I think he's too small still.
Yeah.
Big Boy says pound for pound is made to compare other weights to heavyweights, but doesn't mean heavyweights cannot be included on the list. I agree. Let's see. OG Boogie, haven't seen you in ages. Glad to see you, brother. Shout out to you, bro. He says, Mighty Max, what's up, brother? And what's up, co-host? And to the people in the live chat, smash the like button, participate with your comments, and enjoy. Most definitely, OG Boogie. Glad to see you, friend. Shout out to you. Jaguar says, definitely sucks for a guy who loses. Hopefully promoters pay them back by giving them good fight next. Oh, yeah, of course. Well, I'll make sure to check him out for sure, Toby. Thanks for the plug, brother. Oh, I actually think Butaev's going to beat Stanionis as well. And a lot of people are picking Stanionis, but that Butaev win against Jamal James, I mean, that guy's a savage, man. That guy's a savage. And that fight's going to be a bloodbath, him and Stanionis. But I think I'm going to edge out Butaev for now, tentatively. But I might switch that pick. I don't know. Who are you favoring in Butaev and Stanionis?
I got Stanionis.
Yeah, Stanionis. I could see. I've been watching Stanionis for a bit, but man, my guts is telling me Butaev may be able to pull it off.
It's a pick and fight though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A pick and fight, man.
Jaguar says Gamboa, Porter, Quadras, Rosado, Chisora. They fought them all. Yeah, those. We need more. Well, I'm not saying we need more because I don't want. A lot of these guys have a lot of brain damage now, unfortunately. But we need more guys with the mindsets of Gamboa, Sean Porter specifically, Carlos Quadras, Gabe Rosado, Der Chisora. These are 5 fighters that deserve lots of credit for what they've done in the sport. And even though they've came up empty-handed in a lot of these fights, they've shown that they're willing to fight anyone, anywhere, and they've given us some excellent matchups in the past. Oh, yeah, that's the comment you were mentioning earlier. Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Eric Morales said it was hard to turn down that money late in his career. Yeah, I mean, these fighters, they never really want to quit because they love, a lot of these fighters love the sport so much. And once they see these big paydays, given to them, if they continue fighting, it's hard to end it. Most definitely. Rob Palmer says 9/11 is in boxing. Tyson Fury 11 fight ended round 9. He boxed Wilder. What? Huh? I don't know what this guy's talking about. That's the funniest comment I've seen today.
I don't know, man.
I gotta screenshot that later. That's the funniest thing I've ever read. Yeah, shout out to Tony Boswell, as Cano mentioned him earlier. He says, much respect, Mightymax Boxing, Cano Loco Sports. Stopped in to show support and hit the like button. Much appreciated, Tony. Glad to see you here.
Yeah.
Jaguar says Gamboa can survive. At least he's not Pero Angulo, who just stand. Yeah. Alfredo Angulo is taking way too much unnecessary punishment. At least Gamboa will, move around a little bit, make it awkward here and there. In all caps, OG Boogie says Gamboa needs to retire if he didn't save any of his scratched and earn some money by training other people. I don't want to see him get hurt. Actually, I don't want to see any fighter get hurt. Oh, most definitely, OG. Most definitely.
People are already making videos about what I reported already. Golly.
Really? Already? Like,
man, boy, fight, man. These jokers don't waste no time, bro.
These guys are quick, man. You gotta be careful of what you say now, because they'll take your news, post it quickly.
All right, we said it here first.
Yeah, we gotta hear first.
Time stamped here. I gave y'all Xander's opponent a stamp time here.
That's true. Cano got the. I keep saying you need to make your own boxing scene type of page and post boxing news on there, because you got a lot of these sources, man. I don't even know if boxing scene reported this yet or any of them.
They haven't. I don't think they have.
No, probably haven't. Probably have not. Let's see.
I'll go check while you doing what you're doing, because I see some. It's all.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. But I got thick skin, so don't worry about that comment.
Oh, sorry. What happened? Sorry. So I'm looking at the older comments I haven't read yet. So I'm not actually seeing the last minute comments. My bad.
Yeah, it's not here yet. No, it's not on here yet. It's not on. Nope, it's not on boxing scene.
Yeah. William Boxing, Canelo versus Charlo will be announced. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Let's hope so. I think no matter what happens, one fan base is going to be shut up that fight. Either Canelo's or Charlo's. I'm picking Canelo to win that fight, though. Who are you picking in that one, Cano?
Canelo versus Charlo would be now. I'm still up in the air on that one, man. Like, and I said this the other day, man, when I was talking about it. I was like, I gotta really sit and think on this one, man. And I also want to wait until they do like their press conference and the face off, and I get the energy off of both of them, man. This is one of those fights where I gotta see if Charlo's gonna go in there respecting him or looking at him like a fan, or is he in there to really win it and stuff. I gotta see the body language on this one, man.
For sure, for sure. We got to see also which Charlo we're going to get because, we've seen Charlo against J-Rock and against Derevchenko look exceptional. And then we see Charlo against Montiel and against Brandon Adams, not as exceptional. So let's hope we get the best version of Charlo. I think in 2016, I was actually picking Charlo at 154 to beat Canelo. But last couple of years, I favor Canelo now. I think Canelo's improved a lot and Charlo's kind of plateaued a little bit. Tony says, I think Roy's good for different styles of fighters who has that talent to move like he does. Yeah, I think fighters, I really wonder how Roy would do with someone like Boots. I really wonder how he would because people always compare Boots to Roy. I think that's premature, but I wonder how he would look with someone like Boots.
Yeah.
Jaguar says, Canelo fights Charlo. Can we say it's a fair fight or will he be able to say brought him up in weight or any other tricky clause? It's a fair fight if there's no weird like clause or stipulation because I mean Charlo he cuts so much weight to make 160. He's been wanting to move up for ages, so he'll be hydrated. So we're not going to use that as an excuse.
I agree with that. No excuse.
Agreed. William Boxing says Better Biev will lose to Smith and Canelo go up to collect the belts. I don't think Joe Smith beats Arthur Better Biev. I don't. Do you think Canelo? Do you think Joe Smith beats Better Biev? No. And I like Joe Smith, but he's no. He would get ran through.
I don't think Joe Smith beats him. I don't think Canelo beats him. I don't think
Bivol beats him. At one point, after the Dean's fight, I was like, you know what? I think I might actually edge Bivol to beat Better Biev. But after that Brown fight, I'm like, nope, never mind. He's back. That's the Better Biev we saw against Volzik. Oh shoot, sorry. I gotta time this dude out or block him. Whatever this computer lets me do. My bad.
I got they scared, man. I ain't worried about it.
Yeah. Bro, I was on Punch Junk's channel, man, and there were like infinite trolls. I never seen anything like it. So it's just how people on YouTube boxing are, unfortunately. I've never even seen that guy on my channel, so I have no issue getting rid of him.
Yeah, I'm like this, man. That's the thing I did. I'm glad that you had brought me on, man, because look how nice we've had a boxing conversation, man.
Of course.
None of this stuff is like
none of this like
it's not
fake beefs and all that. And
yeah, I don't do that.
Of course. Shout out to Jaguar for the super chat. Appreciate it, bro. The chat's been exceptional today as well. Man, it's so hard to get to all these comments, but chat's been on fire today, most definitely. I still think the funniest comment was whatever Rob Palmer was trying to say. I don't know what this means, but it's just comical. I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but it's pretty funny to read. Let's see.
Yeah, you should screenshot that, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna screenshot that for sure. It's just funny just to look at. I don't know what he's talking. Lean MMA says Navarrete beats everyone at featherweight, though Gary Russell Jr. is his hardest fight. Kiko, Santa Cruz, don't do anything. He probably at this stage, I think if Gary slows down, I mean, if the Gary that fought Magsayo, obviously, but I don't think that's the Gary we usually see.
He fought one-handed.
Yeah, I had it a draw still. I mean, most people had Magsayo winning, but
I thought he did enough, man. I'm like, damn, shoot. Like, I don't get it, man. Like, Magsayo really showed me how flawed he is.
Yeah.
Because if you're a fighter that has an advantage, you know that there's an advantage there once you start that arm that he couldn't use it. Why are you still coming straight forward? Why are you not taking the different angle where he can't do nothing to you? Why aren't you not taking advantage of anything? You're coming straight in and getting countered with a left. Every time he came in, how many times they hit him with that one punch?
He had one hand. He was hitting him with it enough to arguably win a fight. I mean,
like, what the hell? Like, that lets me know that his ring IQ is not, his ring generalship, nah.
Not ideal at all. Not ideal.
Because you should have made, he could have.
What do you think Navarrete would have done to Gary if Gary only had one arm? or Mauricio Lara, what would he have done to Gary if he only had one arm? Yeah. I mean, it would have been dominant.
They would have made that. They wouldn't have been walking straight forward. I know that.
Yeah, most definitely. I still don't know if I'd pick Navarrete over Gary because I don't know what Gary we're going to get, but I pick him over everyone else for sure. Cohen says I think he should stay at 115 because Jesse growing, though. He may not keep the belt for long, though, because his mandatory is wrong beside. That's what I mean, because he dominates these guys at 112, at 108, but At 115, I just don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't see him beating Chocolatito or Estrada. He might beat Martinez. He might. I mean, that's Julio Cesar Martinez. He may edge him out. He may beat Rungvisai. I don't know if I'd pick him to beat Rungvisai, but he might. He may even somehow beat Kazuto Ioka, but I can't beat it. I can't confidently pick him in any of those fights. Now, 112, he may clean up that weight class. He needs some time, though. He's way too young for this. Tony, I like women's boxing and do think they deserve more pay or part of the purse for the entire card. They're unfit or unifier, undisputed, and defending for a period of time. Yeah, I agree. I think some of these female fighters get shortchanged, unfortunately, and that's what Jake Paul's done good. He's turned Amanda Serrano, she said herself, into a millionaire. So this kid that many people found annoying changed a woman's life. So got to give him some credit.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Shout out to Sussy Jimmy Torres in the chat. He says, "Love to see familiar faces." Yeah, I always see you. He's always on your chat, isn't he, Cano? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He met me. He met me at the fights too, man. He met me at the. Damn, which fight card was that, man? Was that the all Puerto Rican card? It was the all Puerto Rican card. Yeah.
Well, which one? Navarrete, Christopher Diaz, or a different one?
Man, was it that one?
I really wanted to go to that fight. I
think it was that one,
I
man.
really wish I was there.
So many events, man, but I think it was that one, man. It was funny because I went to go grab a drink, man. I hear somebody yelling, Cano, Cano! And it was Jimmy Torres.
That's awesome. Shout out to Sussy Jimmy Torres in the chat.
Man. Yeah.
Funny comment here. Cone Gaming calls Rob Palmer a genius. Rob Palmer's one that commented the 911. He made this.
Is in boxing.
9/11 isn't boxing. Tyson Fury 11th fight ended in round 9. He boxed Wilder October 9th, KO'd him in 11. Sorry. That's the funniest thing I've ever read.
James' last opponent was 13-0 with 10 knockouts. Moved to 14-0 with 11 knockouts.
Crap stoppage round 9.
Round 9. Oh, man. I don't know, man.
You got conspiracies in the chat.
Start that comment. You started.
That's funny, man. Hawker Mustang, what's up, Max? Good to see you here. He says, shout out to the chat.
I still don't understand it, but hey, whatever.
It doesn't make sense. That's the funny, but he's like saying that there's some sort of scheme with 911 in boxing. I don't know what he's talking about. Makes no sense.
I'm confused, but hey, it's all good.
Oh, man. Someone has to dissect that. Lean MMA said Bam needs to become a 3-division champ. He should definitely go back down to 108 or 112 and at least become a 2-division champ. He should not stay at 115 yet. Even though the money's there, I think he's only 21, 22. I mean, his body isn't developed. Quadras is not by any stretch of the imagination the best of the top guys there. He needs more time. He definitely does. Jimbo, thoughts on Crawford C meeting up with Hearn to sign a deal with the Zone? It's smart because PBC's Tim Smith said they're not interested in making Crawford Spence because it's not a pay-per-view. I don't want to see him join the Zone. I don't, because nothing's going to happen. It's a waste of time. Best case scenario is he gets one fight Virgil and there's nothing else. And I don't see that happening.
Not going to happen. That's already off the table already. I got that information too. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no reason for him to lose.
I don't even want to get deep into that. I do got it on my phone too, though, but nah.
No reason. Tony Boswell, Gary made Magsayo look awkward because of his ringmanship and IQ. Gary made a fight with one hand. Yeah, he did. Shout out to Gary. And Cano, looks like I went down the entire chat. You've been here for an hour and a half. Thank you so much for coming on this channel. It's been great having you. You're always welcome on here. And everyone, make sure to check out Cano's channel. Tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
That Cano Loco Sports, man, on all social media platforms, man. Like I said, man, look, I'm a human being, man, that just loves talking boxing, man. Everything else that people want to add to it, that's on you, man. I'm just going to keep talking my boxing, man. I've known Max since, or should I take that back? Max known me since I first uploaded my first video. He's the dude that was always next to me the whole time, man, through my whole journey, man, coming through from day one until where I am now, man. So anytime he asks me, if I can come on or something like that, I'm always telling him yes. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate it.
I did can't remember who you interviewed that I did the translation for.
Oh, it was Jackson Marinas.
Yeah, I was happy to do that as well, man. You don't forget people that were there from you from day one, man. And
of course, thank you. Yeah,
that's just the way it is, man.
Most definitely, yeah. Truly appreciated having you on here. I'll make sure to drop your channel in the description and the pinned comment as well once the stream posts. And it's been great having you on. And thank you as well to everyone who dropped donations. Jaguar, Cano, who dropped a donation. Shout out to you. Iceman. Everyone donated. I truly appreciate it as well. And yeah, that's all I got to say. I'll see you guys later. Everyone have a good one. Peace.